That's the night's quarters.
Okay, it's Wednesday the 23rd of November, and it's just about 11:30 in the morning. Nice cool day, probably 55 degrees, something like that. Sunny, as you can see. Where are we? We are in a town called Aranjuez. It's A-R-A-N-J-U-E-Z, and it happens to be a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And it says it's a Castilian town where the Tagus and the Jarama rivers meet, and it was once home to Bourbon kings in the spring and in the fall. We're going to go visit the Royal Palace and gardens and botanical gardens. Right now we're standing in San Antonio Square, and this is the area that connects the city to the palace. And I'll show you right now the fountain of the water jug goddess, Fuente de la Venus del Jarro, and that is this statue here in San Antonio Plaza. And then
overlook the
maybe
garbage floating in the water. Did you?
And can you tell me what this is over here? This capella? This is San Antonio's. Okay, the Royal Chapel of San Antonio. And then along either side
the knights' quarters
are quarters that were built for knights. The Royal Palace, Palacio Real, is in the distance. You can see the dome. We'll come around it in just a second. And what are these other quarters on the other side?
This is the chapel and the house of the king's infants and the Elizabeth Garden.
Okay. So basically we just walked into this town. We're about an hour train ride south of Madrid, headed out here this morning, and then showed up at the Tourist Information Bureau to find our way around. Let's go ahead and walk around the corner in the direction of the Royal Palace. This was big during the time of Philip II. Really did a lot of work developing this. In the mid-1800s it was turned back to the municipalities. In other words, the royalty pretty much went away. But there was the great gardens and botanical gardens and waterways and plants and shrubs and all that kind of stuff. It's huge. I'll show you again on the map. This over here is the restaurant El Rana Verde. We read about it on the way down. That's the restaurant of the Green Frog. And the frog probably has some kind of significance because it's part of this statue here in San Antonio Square. And what are we pointing out?
She marked the entrance to the garden up here.
I know, I'm going to the Royal Palace, which is right over here. So let's walk down here. And let's see what this looks like. Can you tell me when it was built or who it was built by? And I guess a lot of this took 4 centuries to complete. Okay, I'm going to keep walking. And we'll take a look at the Royal Palace. There's some of the gardens out there. People out walking around. Really quite, I'm liking it quite a bit so far. Really pretty interesting. This guy wants to drive me over. Only a couple observations. Everything has graffiti on it, spray painted everywhere. You can be out in the suburbs, I mean riding the train, out in the countryside, and you'll see old farmhouses, whatever, that are falling down, been around for a long time, and there's spray paint all over them, everywhere. And you just wonder, I mean, But I mean, you just wake up one morning and say, I think I'll go out into the countryside and take 4 or 5 cans of spray paint with me, and I'll spray paint something out there. But it's everywhere. And then where there's old buildings or factories, most of the windows are broken out. So I guess you could call it vandalism. Anyway, we're coming up to the Palacio Real. We're going to go in and take a tour, but I'll open up onto the square here just so you can get a look at that, and we'll see how that looks. Palacio, there it is right there. In fact, let me go up and it'll probably tell just a little bit of history about this. In fact, let's do it this way. Sorry for the ad hoc nature of this, but that's the way it goes. Let me see if it says anything about it on this. This is Couples Square. There's what it looks like from out at the street. It was the scenery of parades, commemorations, and equestrian games typical of the royal court. The name was given for the game of couples that had place there. And it was a kind of horse dance in which 48 gentlemen were divided into 4 lines headed by one of the king's sons, and marching with discipline they would cross as a dance, a military parade, and a game. This square is perpendicular to the royal palace, flanked on the Fagone's house and the civil servants and nobles' houses. Okay, let's walk.
This is the garden, 1560.
So anyway, this was home to royalty. Supposedly, the Knights of St. James of Santiago also laid claim to this very early on. But let's see. And then this is the Jardin de la Isla. As you notice, here's the royal palace layout right here. And then this is an isla, an island, and it's just all laid out with gardens and so on. And supposedly you can take a little boat ride around here. So that's the Jardin de la Isla, part of the royal palace setup. And it's called Palacio de Aranjuez. Oh wow, it's in Spanish, so I'm not going to be able to help you. But anyway, there's 140, I can tell, species, botanical species, and so on in the garden. But anyway, we'll end this one.
1560 Philippe II.
Okay, 1560 Philippe II and Juan Bautista de Toledo, right? Okay, we'll just end there, I think.